this Wednesday, July the 1st, here at KSMO Radio, and time for us to sit down with Hospital Administrator Kasey Lucas. Happy 1st of July.
Yes. This is actually our hospital New Year.
It
because
is.
It is the
It's
first,
your new-
first day of our
fiscal year.
fiscal
Yeah,
year.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
And, well, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And you're celebrating with a nice, cool drink.
Yes.
Yeah, too hot for coffee outside already, but
I know.
It gets pretty sticky out there.
Have to have the coffee, though.
Yeah, I've got that. I've been in the air conditioning. You've been outside, so it makes a little bit of difference. Anyway, we're glad that Kasey could make it. This originally was scheduled back on the COVID-19 testing day you guys had, and Karen said, well, he'll be there, and I said, well, he could break away for 45 minutes if he really wanted to. But yeah, anyway, one of those things that was not a big deal. I told her, if he can, great. If he can't, that's fine too. We'll figure out time. Yeah. So then you were on vacation, huh? A little break, huh?
Little break. Didn't really go anywhere, but got a lot accomplished at home. So that was good.
Kind of let the wife and daughter do their thing.
Yeah,
huh? Pretty good.
Senior
dad,
daughter,
That's
and
pretty nice
went
dad
on a
to do
mother-daughter
that.
vacation. So
Well, we tip our cap to you. It's good that they do that. I know that's very important to the ladies. Kind of get away from the guys for a while.
Yes.
Girl talk.
yeah.
They don't pay attention to what we say anyway. That's always the rumor anyhow. I won't say they don't pay attention. They just may not always take it to heart.
Yes,
But that's all right.
I saw a meme the other day on Facebook, and it said, when your children say, "I want mom," it's like somebody saying, "I want to speak to your supervisor." So.
But I can remember years ago, Dad was always the final word in the house. But Dad was always busy, so I knew when Dad was busy, if I would go ask Mom, and she said, go ask your father. So I knew if Dad was really busy, he would just say, well, go ask your mother. And then I said, but Dad, what do you think? Is it okay or not? Well, sounds fine to me, but just go ask your mother. So I'd go back and say, Dad says it's great.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I think we all played that.
Yeah. And then Mom would say, are you sure? I said, I'm sure. Dad said it was fine. I kind of helped him with that decision, but yeah, Dad said it was great. Anyway, but we all have our stories to tell about how we kind of manipulate our parents.
Yeah.
That's all right, man. Anyway, but sometimes it didn't work either. Dad was just, I'd go ask Dad, Dad'd say, no. I think, were you sure? Mom said it was okay.
Nope.
No.
Yep.
No, and no means no.
Yeah, I see my girls trying to do it all the time, so.
That part of being a child hasn't changed, I don't believe. Anyway. All right, anyhow, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Board of Directors meeting. This is all the way back in June 16th, so it's been 15 days ago.
Yeah,
so
it's 2 weeks.
But we'll try and get people up to date on that. A couple things have changed as we get into it, but before we get into the meeting, let's just go ahead and talk about that COVID-19 testing.
Yes.
That was done at Aranda's parking lot. It was a
Yes.
12-hour open window where people could come and get tested, and I believe 94 tests were given.
94 tests,
and we had one positive.
One
that
positive
came
out of that.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they are currently under the auspices and direction of the Denton County Health Center.
That is
And
correct.
They are being secluded and isolated from everybody. So
Yeah. And, when you have a test like that, I know that at least for the first 4 or 5 days after it, we got plenty of calls and we tried to inform everyone, hey, we will mail out results. If there is a positive, you will be contacted ASAP. So as soon as we get those results, and that could take up to 4 days.
Right.
And now that testing could take up to 8 days. So
a lot more tests. being given.
yes.
Not enough laboratories. Plenty of tests now.
Sure.
But not enough laboratories.
Sure.
And I was listening to AP, and they said the testing is down. I said that the laboratories are maxed out.
Yeah.
They can't get any more tests done any quicker than they are now, and they're getting bombarded from everybody. And as you were mentioning before we came on the air, some people are just doing these tests continually.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball and National Hockey League are going to give tests every day. Every day.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, and if somebody comes up positive, well, I don't know, Major League Baseball might be every other day, but if they do, it's still, that's a lot of tests, and that has to all go to a laboratory, and they're not going to have the results like that.
Right. Right. As a matter of fact, we are evaluating today. We are evaluating a machine that would give us a rapid result, and so we are looking at how, is it worth
Expedite that process.
Is it worth that? And so, but again, this is not going to go away. I think this is going to be one of those flu, become more of a common thing, and I hope it doesn't, but it looks like it's heading that way.
Well, I don't think it'll ever go away. It's just, can we find something that can relieve? And they already have found Remdesivir. Is it Remdesivir? That can relieve symptoms.
Yes.
Okay, so that can relieve symptoms, but it's quite expensive.
Yeah.
It's what, $2,300 not a dose, but a treatment. I think it's $2,300.
Sure.
Which $2,300, if it's going to relieve a lot of the symptoms, especially the latter symptoms where it could be very hard to breathe.
Lessen that time and that the difficulty in doing that. Yeah.
So well worth it.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. And they're still working on other vaccines. I know some drug companies have gotten through into the second phase or third phase now.
Yes.
But still have to go through 4 phases to get the FDA approval.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet. Still moving, but not there yet. But anyway, so the COVID testing, pretty much a success.
Yes.
And letting people, if they wanted to, get a test, and they could do that. And like I said, 93 out of 94, that's not too bad. And the one positive was quarantined properly, and so.
Yes.
And they had no, by the way, they had no contacts in Dane County, which was great.
Yeah.
There was a guy, actually, if I'm mistaken, he was going into the bank, and they called him, and they said, nope, don't go in the bank.
Wow. Good deal.
They got him before he got in there. Said, no, please come back. You did test positive. So he never got in the door. Sure. Never even got there. So that's just good news. All right. So, again, do take caution, guys. We're not, I'm not fond of having COVID-19 in our area. And I know that they had I think on a statewide website, they had us with 5 cases, and they found out it was an address error for 2 of them. So put it back to 3. However, and still in our area, there's not just all that many, but we don't need any more.
No.
Really don't. Please keep your social distance. Please be very cautious and thoughtful of your neighbor. Mm-hmm. And, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I'm not sure that's going to do you a heck of a lot of good. I know they're saying it will. It will if you know you have it, wear a mask.
Yes.
If you think you might have it, or if you're not feeling well, wear a mask. Definitely for sure. But watch what you touch. That's really going to spread it more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because especially in the summertime, especially as hot as it's been, what's the first thing you do when you start to sweat? You rub your eyes. Mm-hmm. Wipe your face off. Guess what?
Yep. Anything you've touched.
Anything you touch is going right there. All right, so be careful. All right, we'll go ahead and talk about the meeting itself. That was, again, on June the 16th. And first things we had to do is start to swear.
Yeah.
We swore.
We swore.
Swore in a couple of new directors, that is.
Directors.
Actually, not new directors at all, just kind of rehashing for Willie Strader. It's the second time in, 3 months?
Yes. Yeah.
But Judy and Willie both were swore in, and Willie is doing an unexpired 3-year term, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then Judy has full term.
Yep, District 4 and Judy for District 1. So.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
And the hospital attorney, Mark Weaver, does that swearing in process. Mm-hmm. Very good. Then we heard from the new CFO. We got a new CFO.
Yes.
Where's he at?
Yes, we've got our auditors in today because he would be here. I wanted him to come today, and then we scheduled the auditors at the same time to come in for just a little introduction type meeting, and so he is with them today.
Don't blame you there. That might be important.
Yeah. So, but
and his name is
Doug Hoban.
Hoban, okay.
And he
where's
comes
he from?
With originally from Lebanon area. He has worked at many Mercy facilities as whether it was the director of finance or the CFO in that role in many facilities for Mercy. The latest, he's coming directly here from Texas, and I can't remember the town in Texas, but a small critical access hospital in Texas. That he was there for just a few months, maybe 6 months. He had been there, had left Mercy with Mercy's restructuring, things that are going on at Mercy. He was part of that restructuring, and so found another job with a critical access hospital. Again, most of his experience has been with smaller critical access hospitals, so gives him a lot of experience looking at what we look at. Again, we are cost-based reimbursed, so when you start talking about how you look at costs and how they affect everything, you have to, our major payer is Medicare. So as you start looking at that, you have to really take that into consideration when you're doing upgrades or just normal run of business. So, but his first month has been fantastic.
You want to get back home? Is that why you got to come back toward the Salem area?
Yes, yes, and he wanted to get back. Yeah, so he came and we dealt with the COVID restrictions then too, because when he came back, he couldn't come directly here. He had to take that 14-day quarantine, and so I think that was right before Texas had their spike and has started to see that surge of positives. So he did quarantine for 14 days before he came, but we were happy to have him when we got him, and he's doing a fantastic job.
And Kasey, I think as before we get into this and talk about the COVID-19, and you're experiencing this, and actually in your discussions with other administrators in other states, every state is doing this COVID count a different way. State of Missouri, once they test you and you're positive, that's it. They can test you 50 times, you're still one. But other states, if you're tested, they count you as positive again and again. Yes. And again, so if they give a test and you're positive, they add you to their total board. It's like a tote board up there, but it's the same person getting tested 18 times.
Sure. And, again, we had discussed, not sure that the need in testing you that
18
many
times.
that many times or multiple times. But, I've heard those things that there are states that are counting that. So these numbers that are being reported.
Well, there's more tests being given, so we know that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's so much many more tests. But if you are testing people who currently already have it, the test numbers would obviously be elevated, because if they've got it and they're testing them again 2 days later, they may still have it.
Yes.
More than likely do.
Yes.
And then, I remember this golfer that got it. He was tested positive on a Friday. On a Sunday, he tested non-positive. And then on Sunday, he tested positive. And they're going to test him as often as he wants to until he goes negative again. Then he can play again. Well, how many tests is that going to be? 5, 8, 10?
Sure.
Who knows? I don't know. I mean, that is his livelihood.
But it's one case.
But it's one case. And if they count those every time, it's kind of misleading as a number of cases. However, it is another case if it's the same case.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So, anyway, a little bit misleading there. But some states are doing that. Not Missouri. Missouri's not doing that. So once you test positive, you're one, and that's it. So, but every state has the right to do it however they want to.
Yes, it's just it makes it just is inconsistent, and so that again could skew the numbers.
Yeah, they're learning a lot by this pandemic. Really, everybody is, because nobody was ready for this. Now they're talking about a swine flu in China that might have implications. So every time we get a new flu bug, it's going to be another pandemic.
Yes.
Okay. So enough on that. Let's get to the hospital numbers. Inpatient admissions at 117, which really not bad.
No, for admissions, it's good. I think
Inpatient census days were down.
Yeah, I think you see that the makeup of those admissions, a higher volume of those observation, and so those are shorter length of stay, and so our census days don't match up, so to speak. So, So when you start looking at those, and again, that affects revenue and all of those things. So as you start looking at that, the census days is really what drives that revenue. And so,
but just starting back on the surgical cases as well also slows that down as well.
Yes.
You know, so
yes.
just getting back to that in May, I think we had, what, 3 or 4 in April, or maybe
In May.
maybe
No, none in April. None in April.
None in March, none in
No.
April. Okay.
No. March was a decent
Early
month.
March. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, early March was okay.
Yeah. Then we
This
had
mid March of things.
come St. Patty's Day and everything
Yes.
shut down.
Yes.
I think that was planned. No. I'm being trying to be funny there. Probably not very funny. All right. So anyway, 296 inpatient census days, and as you mentioned, 53 observation cases with 68 days. That's not a lot of days.
Right.
And then 9.5 acute care patients per day. So the outpatient registrations down, cardiopulmonary down, laboratory tests down, radiological procedures down, rehabs down, surgical procedures. We had 3. So
Yes.
and that was the first 3 we had in 3
Yes,
months.
that's true.
2.5
Yeah.
months.
Yep.
And then home health visits obviously down, and in long-term care we lost a patient. And
We did.
And has that been filled?
It has not. We are down to 15 residents. So we are now evaluating the process and bringing because still the recommendation for skilled nursing nursing home setting is quarantine.
Right.
So we're discussing that process of as we bring those a new resident in, the process for us of quarantining that resident for a certain amount of days. And it's going to take us a while to get that process to a point where we feel comfortable, and we'll bring that in. But it's approaching the time where we're going to push forward and bring that resident in. And so
all things
being very cautious in
right.
doing that.
All
but,
things changing because of COVID-19.
Yes.
It's just, you don't want to.
I mean, how long can we continue on? And I know resident families are expressing
Concern.
concern
Sure.
with that, and I totally agree. I understand. My mother-in-law is in a home, and it is very difficult. And it, their environment is upset as well, and that the effect that would have on someone that dementia or something
Sure.
that is not good for that setting.
No,
But,
basically, we all know human contact, especially with family, very important. I remember my father, he lived for those days. My mom did too. They lived for the days when the kids come back, grandkids come, great-grandkids come, whatever it is. All you can do is see them through a window.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not exactly that interaction that you need. And so, but that's kind of what has to happen right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Until we get a better grip on this.
We
and figure out
err
what
on
to
the
do.
side of
Caution,
caution,
sure.
and so, but
Okay. So the new long-term care residents that'll be moving in will be going through a COVID-19 quarantine for 14 days before entering long-term care,
yes,
as a caution.
definitely. I mean, there, and again, we're cautious to bring those new residents in, but I think we're going to do a point where we need to do that, and so
Right, sure. So they'll
you
change.
know, people are on the waiting list, and
Right.
and we need to.
We'll change in hospital policy, but for the better and for the cautious side. They're very good. Emergency room visits were way down. We all expected these numbers to be down, but and they were, but maybe a little bit lower than we anticipated. Usually in May, you have a lot of people bumping their knees and getting hurt playing sports. There was none. Different things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
People weren't really out and about yet. Ambulance runs, 184 with 126 patients transported. 58 dry runs. That was a little bit higher than normal as far as percentage-wise was concerned, but still, that's about average, really.
Dry runs.
Usually been having 220 ambulance runs
Yeah,
per
yeah.
month, somewhere in there. And as far as patient disposition, 38 transferred, 74 admitted, 24 against medical advice decided they wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. You can do that. All right, very good. Let's get to the operating statement. And it definitely reflects those very numbers we just talked about. And the hospital has outpatient, not as much as inpatient. Inpatient really suffered a little bit, and it's going to.
Yes.
Has that started to change now in June?
Yes. Yes. We have
different.
seen, we've seen a steady, I mean, I think you go back to March, the tail end of March, everything kind of dipped off.
They shut everything down, yeah.
April's definitely our floor of where things
Bottomed out.
as low as we could go, and then or as we would ever want to go. And then May we did see a rebound, so this is a rebound. This is good, but and then I think we've seen June come back,
Increase a little bit.
yeah, better
Very
than.
All right, so the hospital, when you start to talk about total patient revenue, we're talking about $4,217,000. The budget was $4.9. Last year was $5.4. That's a wide discrepancy in
Yes.
there when you come to that, because net operating revenue, and we're talking about total revenue, the net operating revenue after the deductions was under $2 million. I don't remember the last time the hospital was under $2 million.
Right.
That's been quite a few years. In a month's time of net operating revenue, and that's not even talking about the total operating expenses, which was going to put you into the negative side.
Sure.
Which you knew it was going to happen anyway.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it wasn't unexpected, and the net operating revenue did get a boost from some stimulus money.
Yes.
Of $3,672,000.
Yeah.
However, we all know that that's stimulus money.
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, when you see the negative 294, and then last month of negative
600.
Yes.
Or something, yeah.
I mean, that's where that stimulus money is going to, and so we get it all in one batch.
Yeah.
And so, there's been some talk, and I think over the next couple of weeks, as we start to get into ending the fiscal year and tying out everything, and then into the audit, there may be adjustments. I know there was some talk.
Sure there would
I know
be
there's some talk of saying, hey, some of that revenue, some of that stimulus money, we considered revenue, and yes, while it's revenue, do we need to defer it on down the line and not show it all like we have? And so again, it's accounting, it's timing, and generally accepted accounting principles, and really we'll have to have those auditors come in and say, okay, what's the best way to show those dollars?
But that's going to be based on recommendations by the U.S. Treasury when they gave you the money.
Yes.
And some of those recommendations, Kasey, like with many of the other grants that they've given, are extremely vague.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
it's like, here's the money. We'll make the rules later.
Yes. Yes.
But here, go take the money. It's okay.
Yes.
Well, you take the money because you need it to operate.
Sure.
And then you find out what you have to do later. And it's good that, you've got some quality auditors that can stay on top of this, that will do the right thing, and they'll follow that. I mean, it's still that way for a number of different things with the money the county got.
Yeah. As they get the guidance and they interpret that guidance, they forward that on to us too. And I know that that line of communication is very open at this point, and having Doug, new CFO, in place to kind of manage that is they've got, again, that line of communication is open and doing well. I mean, it is something that we depend on that for a little bit.
He didn't come not at any too late time, did he?
Oh, I know. I know.
Because it was becoming a little bit hectic without a CFO there for a while. I mean,
Sure.
because of the COVID-19.
Sure. And
then you're getting stimulus monies. You got this and you got that, and then you've got also your qualifying money you can get from the county. A lot of stuff
Yes.
has to be done,
Yes.
and it's doesn't have to be done today, but it has to be done, and that's a lot of work because
Yeah.
it's all got to be detailed, documented, and then submitted in a proposal.
Yeah.
All right, so very good. So, I mean, when it looks like the bottom line with a $3.3 million positive cash flow, but 3.6 of that basically from the stimulus money.
Yeah.
So as we look through the expenses, and one of the nice things we saw was a dividend check from the insurance company. That always helps.
Oh, it does. It does.
Always helps. Unfortunately, though, without as much income coming in, still none of the numbers are out of line. Actually, some of these salaries and wages are actually down a little bit from the monthly budget, but they're still in line with where they'd have to be because the hospital still has to operate
Sure.
just like it would if it was full or there's 2 patients in it.
Yes. And there are certain things that, again, we know about the agency staffing and certain things that are inflating those costs at this point. We did have a run on employee benefits and a lot of health insurance claims that came through, and processed a good amount of those, so that was up for the month. But other than those areas, I mean, we are at that budget, and we did have those increases to those expenses, and if we didn't have that, we would have been well below that. So.
And then one of the things that people will finally see is interest. And the hospital had very little debt to begin with.
Yes.
But now with the bonding,
Yeah.
you will have an interest charge, and that will start to escalate as we go on
Yes.
with payments because of the bonding capacity. Okay, very good. Let's move forward. Balance sheet. Well, the balance sheet had a $10 million net change in assets. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not real. It is
No.
real, but it's not real.
Sure.
It's real money. However, it's encumbered money.
Yes.
Big time.
Yes. Yes.
So, there's a lot of that for the construction work. Also, you guys run the payroll protection program
Yes.
as well, which,
Yes.
by the way, just got extended.
Yes.
They voted on that last night, and they extended that now
Mm-hmm.
past June 30th. So if you haven't applied for it, now you can.
Yes.
I'm not sure they're going to let you apply again.
No.
I haven't heard that
wouldn't
one
think so.
yet.
I wouldn't think so.
I would like that. my payroll last time was the last one, so I'm out.
Yeah.
So if they want to give me an extra few dollars or two, that would be great. Probably won't happen, but it would be great.
Well, I think there's going to be additional stimulus. I mean, there's got to be additional stimulus. Again, them expanding it, extending the due date. There has to be changes to the program that goes, oh, okay, well, if it lasted through X amount of time, this is what we would expect to do to help you. And now it's this COVID effect is going to continue and continue. And
it
there's
will.
got to be a way. I mean, if
Well,
it's the battle between being safe and being healthy and keeping the economy healthy.
Well, that's just it.
And it's
Cardinal baseball is going to finally get started again, so that'll help us a little bit. And then I have no idea about local sports.
right.
I have no idea. So,
Well,
oops.
They're going through the process. They're at camps. They're at the kids are participating in camps, and July is a huge month for those camps.
Basketball,
and
football,
and doing all of that.
Yeah.
So, it's. I mean, we're still all up in the air.
I know.
What's going to happen?
Well, we don't
I mean,
know. Fauci yesterday said we need to get the kids back in school, but
Sure.
well, if you can't get the kids back in school, how can you have an event? Then I actually heard somewhere Misha said they would have football games with no fans. What?
Yeah.
It's high school, guys. But to get the seasons in. Now, we aren't even worried about being in school. Well, we think we need to worry about being in school first before we worry about football game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
you hear these
okay,
things.
have limited seating.
Yeah.
A common sense approach. I understand you can't have stands full of people, but
Well, I mean, that was one of the things they were talking about college football. They said, you want college football this year, you better start doing your COVID-19 because they're not going to let you in.
Yeah.
And we got a thing from the University of Missouri that said the same thing. We can't guarantee anything. You know, as far as tickets, you can buy season tickets, but we can't guarantee that you can sit in them.
Right.
Like, why would I buy tickets?
Yeah.
Still waiting on money back from the Blues.
It's everything is just up in the air, and
Yeah.
it's
It's
I don't
crazy.
know. We're scheduled to. I mean, my oldest daughter to go to MSU on I think August 6th to sign her up for classes and get her the
Accommodations
dorm
and
set
stuff,
up and
yeah.
all of that. And today, that's still scheduled, but you know,
Who knows?
My thought is well, if there's so little that's going to be in the classroom, in-person classes.
I know.
Well, why would she go
There,
You
when
know,
she
why
could
would
do
she
it at
go there
home.
when she could do that stuff? Yeah. And it's just
Which then, seeing it, when people say, well, that just makes common sense. However, it affects the dorms. The dorms have to survive.
Yeah.
So they've got cooks that cook food. You're not getting that.
Yeah.
You're not getting the people buying the books because there's no books to buy. And then so everything has a trickle-down effect. And so when people say, well, that's not a big deal. Well, yeah, it is a big deal. You might have instructors that are still teaching, but if the instructors teach the same class, they could actually record it, and you can watch it at any time.
yeah. Yeah.
And they would only have to be in class one time. There's a lot of subjective things to the online education. Plus, you can't know who's actually watching and who's not,
Right.
who's attending. There's some things that still have to be worked out there. So, anyway, nonetheless, though, but as far as the balance sheet, it has higher than normal numbers. A lot of that is, though, due to the bonding capacity, the payroll production program, as well as the stimulus money that came in. So
Yes.
the numbers are a little high. However, at this time, that is for a number of different reasons as well. Plus,
Yes.
we got accelerated payments from CMS too, right?
Yeah, that's in there too.
It's all in there.
Yep.
All right, very good. Let's go to the cash flow statement because everybody likes cash. And you had a nice increase in cash, but again, all that came from other. If you take the other out, you don't have it.
Nope. No.
It's been a loss.
Yep.
So nonetheless, but $5.2 million the cash increase, but again, increase in receipts in cash of $5.9 million. So ending cash would have been a little bit lower than higher.
Mm-hmm.
Days cash on hand is impressive. Changes that average a lot, doesn't it? You're going to start out the 2020 fiscal year looking really good. You're never
Yeah.
going to be able to beat that one.
Yeah, when we end the 2020, and that's on this running year-end days
Yeah.
cash on hand, it's gonna look goofy.
It's going to look real goofy. Guessing what 2021
And
is going to look like if you have that cash for a while.
And if that 196 was to scale from these,
Yeah, it'd be a lot higher than the 52 there,
Yeah.
which is about twice the size of 52.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't, the pages were so long.
I know.
Anyway, big days cash on hand. And again, that's a little bit deceivable. It is cash on hand. However, a lot of it is earmarked. So it is not just cash on hand.
No.
There probably should be something in there about cash on hand and earmarked cash on hand.
Well, and that's a possibility.
Yeah,
We'll look
you
at
really
that,
need to
'cause
do
it's,
that
it's,
because that's not truly an accurate.
No, and
show.
it will be that cash. I mean, starting middle of August, that cash on hand will decrease by $3 million, pretty much in over a 60-day period, or maybe a 90 to 120-day period. But yeah, it will. That $3.6 million will be gone like that. I mean, so that's definitely earmarked for our Medicare receivables.
Sure,
and so,
sure. And not only that, but then when the construction payments go out as you
Yeah,
increase, that'll be over a period of time, and so
that will be over 6 months
right.
time.
So you have an artificially high days cash on hand. So operations cash on hand will be much smaller, and probably that's the one that should be reviewed, not according to what you have as far as your
Yeah.
construction and your obligations with CMS. This is a forward payment. You are going to take that off.
yes.
What we would owe you.
Yes.
So here's your money in advance. Don't be billing us again for about 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we're just going to deduct it from that money. All right, acute care patient. Interesting kind of graph this time. Very few cases early on. It did go up a little bit. And that will continue to rise as this continues to break down. But interesting. Sometimes graphs do tell a bigger picture, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
Pretty busy day on the 5th.
Yes, it was.
Wow.
And we've been up pretty consistent at above 15 for the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been pretty.
So in the month of
consistent.
June, you're back to pretty much where you were before all this started to strike.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So hospital auxiliary does not meet during the summer. There is a fundraiser that is planned for Shiro's production July 9th. Now, that's going to be right around the corner.
That is.
Is that still on?
As far as I know, I haven't heard anything back from that. Again, I've been out last week.
Right.
Karen, my assistant, is out this week, so.
There'll be a little lack of communication there, isn't it?
A little bit.
Should be.
I touched base last week.
Should be a little pamphlet. Do you guys keep pamphlets like that where they write down everything?
Yes.
We used to do that. Not so much here, but in another place I worked, where everything that came in for that person was put down by date, time, who called.
Oh, she does a fantastic job of that.
And this is what's happening. So when you get back, you're flipping through that thing to try and catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you catch up when people call and say, "Well, I talked to somebody last week."
Yeah.
Who did you talk to?
And sometimes the email can.
Oh gosh.
You can lose things in an email because of the overwhelming number of emails that you get in that amount of time.
Right,
so.
exactly, and that does happen. So Shiro's Productions is on, as of right now, for July 9th at the hospital library. That's going to be like 10 in the morning. Is it 10 in the morning or 4, something like that?
Yeah, it's not 8 o'clock.
No,
they don't
it's
start
not
at
8. It's like 10,
I think
10
it's
to
10
4.
Yeah.
And it is open to the public, by the way, even though it's in the hospital library.
Yes.
Now you will have to come in the front door. You're going to have.
No, we'll have the
outside.
side door.
They're going to be outside, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yep. Sorry about that. They're not going to be in the hospital library.
I think they've been bringing a trailer or a something.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I just remember last time we talked that they were going to actually bring a trailer. Forgot about that. It's probably
It's
not
got
on
a
your
hospital library though.
I know it does have that.
Yeah.
It's not accurate. We'll work on that.
Well, we know either
They'll be
way,
here.
it'll be the north entrance of the hospital.
Right.
It'll be on that side of the hospital.
It'll be either right by the Circle Drive or outside the Circle Drive.
Yep.
Just right above it.
Yeah.
One of the two. All right. So anyway, and if you walk in the front door, they'll tell you where Shiro's production is, so you don't have to go wandering around and trying to find it.
That is true.
Very good. All right. Let's move forward. Foundation golf tournament went okay.
Went well.
17 teams.
Yes.
Looked like it was going to rain most of the
Yes.
Did rain the day before. It was a little
15 minutes before we started, it stopped raining, which was.
but it stopped.
Yes.
And so we got the golf tournament off, and 17 teams, just one flight.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 o'clock
Yeah.
in 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Was that something?
No, we started
No,
at
12. Was it?
10.
10.
We started
I can't
at 10.
remember. Jason
Yeah.
texted me that.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, so 17 teams, and so it went well.
Yes.
You don't know how many dollars were raised because you've been on vacation.
I think
So
it
is
was
Jason.
right around 10.
Okay.
Right around
We'll
10
get that
now.
report in the next meeting now.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And Wings and Strings, according to Mr. Jason Edwards, has now been canceled. Did you know that?
Yes. Yes, I did. Now, we talked about it this morning.
Well, yeah, I guess he just emailed me this morning.
And
Can't get bands.
No, we just can't.
No.
We're trying to schedule, and you just can't schedule, and we can't. We have to have enough time to promote it and to get everybody on board and really promote this thing. And
Right.
so, at this point, it's too late. And so,
And so the USDA Distance Learning and Telemedicine Program grant with the schools and stuff, that's kind of on hold too, isn't
yes,
it?
yes, we've had some contact, but yeah, it's been pretty much on hold.
Yeah,
So.
I know schools are doing some cleaning and stuff of that nature, but really you need to get with the administrators, and everybody needs to be able to be on hand to do it, and it's just not happening yet.
Yeah.
All right, and acute care flooring, is that gotten back underway,
Oh
or is
yeah.
that still on hold?
Yeah, no, that's
is it
we're right in the
done?
middle of it right now.
Ooh, baby.
Right in the middle of it.
Right.
But so over the last couple of nights, they've tore out all the hallways in acute care that we had carpeting in there, and we've torn all that carpeting out. And actually last night they laid the main hallway partially, and so we're just having
you have a walking surface.
Yeah, we're just
all
having to work around it,
Yeah.
and it's
and all
gonna
the
be
cutting will be done later, and then they'll put that in, right?
Yeah,
You'll measure that.
The
out.
all of the well, they've got the middle piece, the majority of it in. It's the trim
Edges.
around the sides and the edges and that, and so
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
cutting pieces. They
Sure.
haven't done yet.
Yeah.
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 Because you have to measure each one. It's not like, the tiles, your 12-inch tile, 8-inch
well,
tile, 9-inch tile.
it's the rolled. We're putting in the rolled vinyl,
Oh.
that's rolled and welded, and so yeah.
So it's not truly tile. Yeah.
I'll show you a picture
Okay,
later because
okay.
they can't see it, but I'll show you.
They
a
can't
picture
see
later.
it?
No.
We need to get a camera in here. But yeah, okay. So, but again, still all the trim work and stuff is later. Right now you have your walking surface, but they'll finish the trim work as time goes on and as they can get in there and get that done.
Yep.
All right, very good. So that's good. I'm glad that's moving forward. Very good. Revised visitor policy effective June 15th. Made a few changes.
Yes, it was. We went back to, when COVID started, we went from no visitors to one visitor at a time to one visitor per day, and then no visitors. And now we are back to one visitor a day, and we will, as things change and as
Now
guidance
that's for acute
comes,
care, though.
that is for
Okay.
acute care. Actually, that's for acute care, the emergency room,
Okay.
and outpatient surgery, and really outpatients if there's a patient that needs help. We're not going to deny, but I mean, we have
Right.
people too that can help get an individual
Sure,
throughout the
sure,
hospital, and
sure.
so we can do that too. But and there's always exceptions to that. So again, if there was a child, there's always exceptions there. End of life issues, there's always exceptions there. And then in general, I wouldn't say case by case basis, but we do make exceptions. So
Sure. That's just normal.
yeah.
That's just normal. And then all visitors must be 16 years of age and above,
Yes,
no matter
yes.
what. And again, long-term care residents, no visitors in there at all. And then you guys continue your daily briefings. I know that, so that's
Yes.
not a big deal. Community perception and marketing, and we're not really, that hasn't changed. Still not having the diabetes meetings. They're still not having any of the meetings yet for, I shouldn't
Yes.
say diabetes, but stroke, different things of that nature.
I
all the
think
protocol.
the community CPR training is now getting back underway.
Okay.
And so, there is a need for those people to be certified, and so in those areas
Well,
we are
that's
trying to
starting
make
back up.
exceptions and make that happen. But we're limited. It's very limited on the number of people that can attend those classes.
Right.
So I think per class you can only have, I believe, three or four. I can't remember what
Pretty-
it is, but
pretty
it's
small.
It is
Pretty
pretty
small.
small.
So a lot of the norm has not resumed yet.
No.
Okay. Well, we always seen some ads for
Yes.
the hospital in the paper, and of course we do our thing here. Don't forget, and when you get to the hospital, by the way, they do have signs directing you which way to go.
Yes.
I know that they've got that up there. The emergency exit, emergency room that we always used to know, and everything else is for emergencies only. You don't go through that room to get into the hospital anymore. You go through the old front door, which will be the new front door after the construction is done.
Yeah, and I've heard that the first sign that we have a sign right in the middle of our the road that goes back.
Right.
And right in the middle of it, we've got a yellow sign that says emergency only, and it points you straight to continue straight and go to the emergency room. And then it has everything else
To the left.
listed under going to the left. And so I still think for some reason people get confused by that because the way the arrows are positioned, it doesn't necessarily, it's not as clear as some need it to be. And so we are now putting a line that differentiates, hey, the emergency room you go this way, everything else you go this way.
Yeah.
It's just the way the arrows are placed and,
Well-
and the division of the two. Yeah.
And for those who probably had never seen the sign before, when you're getting right on top of it, you're like, okay. You have to
Yes.
stop and read it.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody behind you, hopefully they stop in time as well and not read your
Yes.
license plate.
Yeah. And the important thing is anybody that thinks they're sick with COVID or, suspects that they have COVID, the COVID testing site, the drive-up COVID testing site is where we would want all of our COVID testing to take place. I mean, obviously, if you're urgently sick and need to be seen in the ER, then definitely the ER. But if you've got an order from your physician to get a COVID test,
Right.
that's where you go to get that COVID test, is that drive-up site. And it seemed like yesterday we had many tests that came in, and there's a process for us. As you get there, there's a phone number to call, and you will be given to the lab, and the lab will come out. They will test you. They will put on their
Garb. We'll put
equipment,
garb, yeah,
personal protective
safety
equipment,
yeah.
and then they will do your test. And when they're done doing your test, they will donning and doffing of their equipment is the big thing, and then going back into the hospital. But there's going to be a couple out there that one will do the test and one will give the material to an individual who then will go out into the hospital and deliver that to the lab and do that. But have patience. It is pretty quick to get the test done, but there's registration and there's making sure that we have all of your information, contact information, because as we find those results will be shared with us from, let's just say we had Quest do that test, or it was a send-out test to Quest,
Sure.
that we will get that result. We have to then provide that information to the health department, the local health department, and then they will then work with the state in
Right.
contacting and notifying everyone and going throughout that investigating procedure to make sure everybody is taken care of and all that. So,
Because the way they do it right now, the address in which you live is the county which will be charged with the COVID case.
yes.
So if your address is St. Louis, but you're in Salem getting the test, doesn't matter if you're in Salem getting a test, it would still go to St. Louis.
Yes.
If you test positive.
yes.
If you test negative, it goes against us. Kind of fun. You can boost your numbers that way. No, but that's not the idea. The
No.
idea is that more than likely they're going to go back home, be quarantined, and so their home is St. Louis. Now they may actually be here in a summer home,
Sure.
and they may actually be in Denton County, but it's
This
where,
may be their home for 3 months or 4 months.
but their legally registered address where they get their license, etc., is where they will count that person. All right, very good. Very, very good. All right, we already did that. So we already talked about the COVID testing. All righty. We had a budget to go over, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yes. And we had
Did anything change?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing had
Well,
changed.
then we already talked about it.
Yeah, we had presented it, and really, I'll just run over the figures
Sure,
really quick.
sure.
Total revenue that was budgeted for 2021 is 66,207,000, and we had about 2.5 million of additional revenue. And then the deductions from revenue came in right at about 41 million. So when you take the 41 million off of the 66, you're left with about 27 and three quarter dollars to cover expenses.
Yeah. See, I thought there might be some change in that budget because you got that stimulus money and then you got that CMS advance. So when you talked about other revenue, I thought that
No.
you may want to incorporate that in there because just to show it.
Well, and that's true.
Yeah.
I think this is also new that I think we will have to go through this audit process to say, okay, as of today or as of the day we finalize the audit or the week of the finalizing the audit, what's the guidance to account for these things? Because it could change 3 times between now and let's say October when we get our finalized financials. And so as we look at those things, we'll have to take into, I mean, our auditors will have to take all of those into consideration and say, hey, these are the proposed changes that we have. And
but the
go from
budget
there.
was based upon the market assessment currently for the hospital. Market assessment. Well, who you serve.
Yes, that was through February.
Right.
Okay. Right. When we started this process, it was through February.
Right. So that was just for
yes,
normal operations.
Yes.
Nothing with COVID. You
No.
know, we all thought that could change, and that's why I was wondering, at the last minute, if you're gonna make changes, you'd be making a lot of last minute changes on that budget.
Yeah. And let's just say the audit rolls around in August or in October, and this is final numbers. We'll consult with them and say, hey, do we need to change? Again, a budget is a target,
Sure,
and or the most likely outcome that we should have. And so, if we need to change that,
they may make you revise your budget. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, right,
Not a
right.
big deal. But I just wasn't aware what the board was going to do, knowing that you already had that money.
Yes.
And then not really showing it there for the next year, which, again, nobody knew how long this is going to last. And so it might have been end of June, and you're thinking, okay, we're not going to need that money. We can give it back.
Sure.
Well, that didn't happen. I mean, end of June came, we're still needing the money.
Yes.
All right, so very good. So 27 3/4, 27 million and basically 3/4, 100,000, 750,000.
Yes.
Net operating revenue. Now let's talk about the dollars that we have to spend.
Okay. So those come up just about $11,000 shy of what that 27,745. We have 27,733, and so that is, to me, as break even as it gets. $11,000 to the good. Then you count into that also our tax money of 500,000,
which is not used toward operations. I want to remind people.
Correct.
Never used toward operations. Only equipment, long-term purchases, things of that nature.
Correct. And in this same area, if, like you said, if we have to change and show additional dollars into the next fiscal year, this is where those dollars will come under that non-operating revenue.
New categories.
Yes.
Yeah, it would create a new little box.
Yeah. And so it would basically be in the same box but have its own line item, just like the unrestricted tax dollars do. So it would be another, as a matter of fact, our financials already have it there because we've had to report it. But we reported it in the lump sum that it came in. Yeah. If we have to spread that out, there will be a line here.
Well, and sooner or later, as you mentioned, deductions against your CMS would have to be starting to whittle that down.
Yeah.
And that will have to be shown, and so you'll have expenses against the money you got in, and the same thing with your construction. Usually those in fund accounting would be put in their own separate fund so that everything is encumbered the right way so nobody can take money out of the general revenue to pay for construction. The construction bonding money will be used to pay for construction.
And ours is that way. You see cash, in a lump on this report.
right.
It is broken down into its own.
Right.
you
That's
know,
just a
as you get
summary
to-
of
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
As you get to the detail,
Yeah.
we've actually just for our own making sure that dollars are, we've pulled stimulus money. We've got that in a separate account. We've gotten the PPP in a separate account. We've gotten construction in a separate account. And every time we have some lump sum of dollars come in, we put it in its own account. And yes, it all runs into cash.
Sure.
But it's
separated. Each individual
yes,
thing is separated
yes,
for the expenses
yes,
against those
yes.
items.
So, as you could imagine, we take we've got just our general account, we've got a payroll account, and we also have the PPP account. So, just to say, what normally happens is we take dollars out of the general, we put it in our payroll account, and
right.
that's where all the payroll checks hit that account and clear that account out. And now we have this PPP
So the
PPP account.
is taking that, putting
and
it into there.
Yes. So as we take dollars out of that PPP and hit that payroll, our general account is growing because we're not having to pull those
Right.
dollars out and put them in.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of those things.
So just to let people know, I mean, when we talk about fund accounting, it's not for-profit accounting, and not-for-profit accounting has to, anybody that encumbers money for any reason at that hospital, it has to be in a separate account.
Yeah.
So if you make a donation to the hospital of $500,000, which would be nice, they would take it,
Sure.
and say, I want that used toward dialysis. I want that used toward new x-ray machine or whatever. Well, they'll take your name. They'll put you have a fund. It's your name, and that fund will say $500,000 cash, which shows up in the cash, by the
Yes,
way.
yes.
But it's encumbered. It can only be used for what you said it can be used for, and that's it. So if
Yes.
they don't buy any new x-ray equipment for 15 years, it says $500,000,
Yep.
and it sits there.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to ask you how many funds like that you have in the hospital because I'm sure there's quite a few.
Yes.
But that is one of the issues with fund accounting because you may have 2,000 to 3,000 of those.
Sure.
Because now some people just give you donations, says use it for what you want. Well,
Yeah.
that's gravy.
Yeah.
But when they don't,
Sure.
they can only be used toward this.
I mean,
and
it's like our fundraisers. Most of that gets put into the general fund or our foundation general fund. And so those dollars, like the golf tournament, that $10,000 will go into that general fund. And we will show it this year as proceeds from the golf tournament.
Right.
At the end of the year, it'll go into the general fund, and as we get from year to year, we'll show what comes in to the general fund and from what. But
where it came from.
and that's a process. You just have to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Foundation now is 7-8 years old, and so I think you just have to get that process down, and we've got that process
Right.
down to where it goes. But if in the foundation, we do have a long-term care account. We do have certain things that dollars were given to do something.
Or if not dollars, it could have been furniture or it could have been equipment.
Sure, sure.
Same idea.
Sure.
It can be given.
Yep.
So, again, I'm just trying to make it, it's not hard accounting, but it's very detailed accounting. And so every single, and when you talk about fund, it's just, I used to talk about the ledgers years ago. I'd have a separate ledger page for every single one of those, which can drive you absolutely bonkers when you have to go find and flip through them years ago. That was before the computers, guys. That was a lot harder to do.
Yes.
A lot harder
Yes.
to do. Okay, so basically, from the budget, operation-wise, about $11,400 gain.
Yes.
And then, of course, about $500,000 in taxes is
Yes.
expected.
Yes.
And you might even get a little bit more than that because, according to what our collector said, when people got their first check from the government for stimulus, a lot of people paid back taxes.
Yes.
which is good.
Yes.
Which is really good.
Yes.
So hopefully you'll get maybe a little bit more out of that.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
So that's good, and that's just for now. This is operations. However, there's another budget that has to be set up for, and that is for those big main items that the hospital has to either replace or purchase new.
Yes. Plant and equipment, and replacing all of those things. The capital, first with the capital budget, we start with the capital leases and any of those lease payments for the year. So those total between, and there's several line items, but all of those line items together, including payments for the first year of payments for the expansion,
Right.
okay, as well as the MRI,
Which is a big bunch of money.
Yep, lease. Totals about $589,000. So that $500,000,
It's already
that-
spoken for.
really, it's already spoken for. And so as we start looking at capital purchases, other than that, there's a total of $380,000, about $380,000 of other items that, necessary purchases.
Mm-hmm.
So that will have to be added, added onto those as we can. And so if we can add to this list, we will add to this list. But this is a very short list. Understanding that those capital leases make up a large dollar amount for us every year.
And some capital leases are paid out of general revenue.
Yes.
You have done that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Now, the one thing about
We are showing it this year, and probably the last 6 years, we've been showing it coming out of
the capital
the capital, yeah.
you only, and a lot of times when we all know when we hear about non-budgeted purchases, we're talking about things that we didn't expect to break, or maybe something in the next fiscal year that the directors had brought up to the hospital, because you don't do this on an every year basis. They do it for 5-6 years ahead of time.
Sure.
They get the list of equipment. Sometimes that equipment just doesn't make it that far.
Yes.
Stretcher, wheelchair, something of that nature. Yeah,
Operations change, and we
Exactly.
change from
Right.
using this equipment to using something else. And so, I'll give you an example that's not true. So what I'm saying is not true, but
Just an example.
You could, if we wanted to, we could say the bone density machine. Okay, well, those bone densities we can do through a CT, and now where we had thought we were going to have to replace that bone density, maybe we're not going to replace the bone density because we're just going to do those through CT. And so if that's the way something goes, there are many, healthcare is like that.
Yeah.
We change, things become the gold standard. Instead of this, we do this. And so those things change. And as those things change, things fall off that list.
Right.
So if we're looking at a new bone density out 5 years, it's on our list to replace in 5 years. But year number 2, it might fall off that list. And so it's ever changing, and always we like to keep that as up to date as we can. And that's a conversation we have with each director over each department every year.
And sometimes that's very difficult because there's more technology that comes out every year that changes those requirements. And then, of course, the state may have requirements that changes that even more.
Sure.
Or federal government.
Sure.
So you guys have a lot of thumbs getting pushed against those buttons that may change the way things are done. But the capital purchases, we talked about a wheelchair. We talked about that dialysis machine, and we had, I think we had one that went down, didn't we? We're replacing one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Very good. And there's some other things in there. Some are pretty high as far as price is concerned, but it's not much in the medical field that doesn't cost a lot of money.
Sure.
So I'm not being facetious in that, and that's just the way it is.
Out of that list, the highest item we have is a
Digital
a
X-ray?
portable, portable X-ray. And so when you look at that, $100,000.
Well, you can take it around, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It shouldn't cost that much. You put it on wheels. $100,000.
Yeah, and the one we've had today, I'm thinking we've had that thing 15 to 20 years. So we got our money's worth out of it. And so, but it is time to replace it. I mean, I'm going to tell you, we're already, we've had some demos. That is one item that is on the short list for us to bring to the board. So possibly see that here in July going to the board meeting because
It definitely needs to be replaced.
Yeah, that needs to be replaced. Now, we're not going to take all of that 100,000 for this year.
No.
That'll be a capital lease, just like these others, and we'll pay for it over 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
So,
Which is the smarter way to do it.
Sure.
Anymore. And people say, well, if you already have the cash, why would you lease it? Well, because you don't know what's going to happen next year. Look what happened
Yes.
with COVID-19.
yes.
And all people that had some of these, well, if you took out $100,000 out of your cash and all of a sudden you have a COVID, that's $100,000 that's gone, not $80,000. That's a big difference. Or 20,000.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Big difference. All right, so capital leases you mentioned about 589,000, with additional capital purchases about 380,000 that are out there. Don't know if all those will be purchased. Don't know, and some may be purchased on lease purchase agreements or capital leases.
Yes.
And some may not be purchased at all. But they are on the list. And they will be reviewed, and as time goes by, and with the discussions about directors, or if they become obsolete or break down.
Yeah.
Those do tend to accelerate those things a little quicker,
Yes. Yes.
like when they break down. And so that budget was approved by the board, right?
Yes. Yes.
With no changes.
No changes.
Okay. All right, real quick, because you could probably talk on this for a while.
Yes.
The hospital expansion and renovation, there's a lot of different things going on, so I'll let you run through this because you are the knowledgeable one.
Yes. The MRI building, it's the frame is up. Actually walls are up. We're getting it's getting bricked as we speak, and so that on the outside
But that's
roof
hot work.
roof is on, and they're finishing up that as well. On the inside, all studs, all walls are in place. We're preparing for the extra shielding that an MRI has to have.
Right, I
And
understand
so
that.
there's plywood that goes up first to create those walls and the backing for the shielding that it's attached to. And then we will put a normal wall on top of that and
Right.
do all that. But that shielding, I believe, will be in next week. So we are preparing to get that.
And I bet shipping was slowed down with COVID-19 of a lot of
Yes.
these materials as well.
Yes, yes. So old maintenance and cage area, not much there. We're that's kind of our work area that we're bringing stuff into, and then we'll bring it through to the hospital. So not much there. Surgery department, definitely the plumbing work. That's where the far end of the building, the end of the line is where we started, and we've run into issues with the depth and the location, and so we've had to postpone and put off, and now we've got our plan in place, and they are there. Actually, today they are back in there and starting to replace that line. So. Yeah, a lot there.
Probably shouldn't have put that under the building, huh?
If there was any other place to put it.
Yeah. How about
Administration is pretty much done. Again, we had to cut out some space in administration to expand the hallway back to 8 foot, and that's been done. We are waiting. The only thing left in administration is waiting for carpeting, and that hopefully is in next week sometime. So
Okay.
coming along there. Acute care, we do have the window replacement, and I believe that's starting July 9th, I want to say. So it's kind of midweek next week. Yeah, it'll be the 8th or 9th. And so they will start with that replacement. I think the plan is to do a couple of rooms a day. I think they feel like they can replace.
Okay.
Really, what's happening is we're replacing the window and the window sill, which is really the top of the AC units
Right.
and the HVAC units in each room. And so we're replacing all of that. And there's while that's not a whole lot of work, there is definitely matching up. And when you start to tear out things that have been there for 50 years,
45, 50 years, yeah.
it's we'll see. We'll make sure that
Some surprises may show
yeah,
up, huh?
and then that could take extra time.
Maybe
But
you'll find some money that was put in the wall.
we're starting on a couple of rooms that aren't patient oriented rooms, so we can take a little bit of time to figure out the process. Between those two rooms, we'll figure out, okay, maybe a room a day, maybe 2 rooms every 2 days, and we'll have to have those rooms vacant. No patients can be in there, and so yeah, we'll start through that process, like I said, July 9th, and then they will work over into long-term care after that. And so,
but they can't really do that
Yeah.
until this COVID-19 thing is done.
and there is, we're working very. There's going to be a plan. A lot of that work can be done from the outside.
Okay.
So there's going to be very little interruption in the building other than the rooms that will have to be vacant while they're doing that. A lot of that work can be accessed from the outside. So that's kind of how we're
putting a new plan of action into place.
Yes,
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
So
because of COVID-19. This
That is-
was,
yeah.
This
Yeah,
was
yeah,
not
yeah.
the case. Because that was actually, wasn't that supposed to be done first?
oh yeah.
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 And then
I mean,
they got stopped. Well, then they had
Yeah.
problem getting some of the stuff in. Now it got too cold.
Well, the windows, I think, actually, I go back to April. I think they were ready to go in April, and
Couldn't, not April.
we were just in the middle of it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so very good. So a lot of work being done at the hospital, guys. And so if you do know when you go in there that you'll see some signs that tell you there's work being done at the hospital. So please be cautious. You never know.
Yep.
You never know. But boy, yeah, that plumbing, you replace that line, that's
Oh.
a mess.
well, I think, when we, you never know when you tear down into under the building where things are, for sure.
Well, they're
And
supposed to
so,
be.
Yeah, you have a picture, and we all hope that it is where it is. And as we got down, I think, it was a little off from the drawing of where we were, and so I think there were changes in the plan. Had to be, okay, how are we going to change this? And then we actually had to go back to the beginning of the building, to the front of the building, by administration, by the physician's library, and we had to dig down and see the depth, okay, because we knew what we had cameras, and we had a big assessment done to see how deep it was, but you can't start at the end of the building without knowing for sure this is it. So we had to dig a hole in the front of the building, and we did, and it just so happens that it was exactly what the camera said, and the exact depth. So, but again, we had to verify.
You got to verify.
We got to
that.
verify.
You can't go through that.
And
without
so, and that tells us exactly where we can have the end of the line. And so, after we did that, again, anybody that's been out to the hospital will tell you. I mean, you've got one end of the building tore up, and you can see an excavator out, a big bulldozer out there and stuff. And then one of the north side of the building, you see a big pile of rubble and dirt and concrete and things, and yeah, so it's just all over the place.
Hey.
So excuse our mess, but you
improvements
guys,
are being made.
it is progress,
Yeah.
and it will be fantastic when it's done.
Give it a year, you won't even know it was there.
Yeah.
You won't even know it.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's there. So
Yeah.
Just be careful and stay off the equipment. Don't let the kids go run and jump on the pile.
That's true.
Okay. Please don't do that. All right, very good. Okay. Purchases. We had purchases.
Yes.
Non-budgeted purchase.
Yes, we had EMS, really the Jaws of Life, the extrication equipment that we use from the rescue unit, on the rescue unit, and any auto accidents or any of that automatically is sent out, and that that equipment just needed to be replaced, and it wasn't something we expected to replace this year. But that's the last thing you want to fail or to, and it wasn't to that point yet.
Right.
But you can't let it get to that point.
Well,
so
no. Is that hydraulic? Is this one or is this electric? Or
this is electric. This one's
Okay.
electric. The old one was hydraulic, and
Okay.
you had your power unit
Mm-hmm.
that pumped that hydraulics and
Right.
did all of that, and you had that unit that had to go with you wherever you went, and you only had X amount of feet of
of
hydraulic
line,
line
yeah,
to
That's why I was asking. I
Yeah.
didn't remember because it didn't say if it was
yeah, but
electrical or not. But
we saw this demo, and the
pretty
new
impressive.
equipment is very impressive.
Is it quicker?
and- oh my
just
gosh!
pop it over.
Well, not that quick,
Yeah.
but it is quicker, and
that hydraulic was very slow, very slow.
this because there's an attachment, a windshield, little. I mean, it looks like yard shears. It looks like a
Oh.
powered yard shear, and you get a hole in the glass, and you turn that thing on. You get the blade in the hole, and it just
Carves that.
cuts right through. It is
Wow,
amazing.
Pretty amazing. Good.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Probably well needed as well. So we talked about non-budgeted. That was a non-budgeted purchase because it wasn't expected yet. That's why we call it non-budgeted.
Yeah.
It might have been on the list for 2 years down the road, but it wasn't on this year's budget, so it was non-budgeted.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we had a checking account authorization to add somebody.
Yes, we had to add Doug.
Had to add Doug. Me and
Have
your
to have our
CFO.
finance guy on the finances. So
It makes sense.
yes,
And that's all I got.
yeah.
Closed session, anything happen?
Nope. We talked about employees and raises, and in this
But nothing voted on for
yeah,
us.
no.
No. Yeah, you were
No.
they were considering raises and things of that nature,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was going to be done somewhat on an individual basis, from my understanding, and instead of us across the board, and it had to be done that way
yes,
due to the COVID-19.
yeah. That is
Yeah, some of
it's the
bad things.
unknown at this point
Yeah.
for us. It's very
But-
unknown, very scary time. Just to again, I think the approach should be common sense for everybody in keeping themselves safe and away from that. But we have our local businesses that we
Sure.
have to support, and
Absolutely.
we want to
And that includes
survive,
our local
and we
hospital,
want
too,
to.
and,
That's exactly
yeah.
right.
And don't forget about and the family clinic is still open. Family medicine's still open, and everything is still the same. They just have reduced hours still.
Yes.
Still 6 to 6.
6
right?
to 6,
Yeah.
or 8 to 6.
8 to 6. Sorry. Yeah, 6 to 6. 8 to 8. 6 to
Yes.
6. Okay. 8 to 6, and so that has been reduced. So until further notice, but then it'll be going back. And again, it's good to call out there and make an appointment. I mean, I know you can walk in if you want to. However, if you call and make an appointment, it's a little bit better, a little bit easier, because you go in, you're going to get your temperature taken. You're going to go through those little things that they have to do and put your mask on you and good stuff like that. But that's okay. It's all right. Let's get through this thing and get it over with. The sooner the better.
Yes.
Get everything somewhat back to and I'm not even going to say a new normal. I don't even like that termination. It just makes it sound like there's going to be so many drastic changes, which is just gets a little bit scary after a while. But anyway, I do want to remind everybody that Kasey's going to be back here in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be quick.
Yes.
We'll have a quick turnaround. Also, again, remind you the Wings and Strings event in September now has been officially canceled.
Yes.
And so that's a shame. I was looking forward to that. However, we'll get it redone next year. There's always hey, why go through something and it's only going to be half of what you wanted?
Yes.
And it's not going to be
Yeah,
not
it's
going to
not.
do what you
Yeah.
want to do. So we'll get that taken care of. So very good. Very good. All right. One of the last remaining things I know coming up pretty soon is sports physicals. It's going to be at Family Medicine. Now, those will be coming back in because of camps and things of that nature.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. We'll be announcing that when those days for the free sports physicals will be coming back in. It'll be later on this month. So if you have a child that will be playing or participating in sports or wants to, and in some cases even some of the other clubs at the hospital, I mean at this high school, require
Yes.
you to have a physical. If you haven't got one, now remember for Misha, it's every 2 years now. You don't have to do it every year. I kind of, Kasey, I'm old school. I'd do it every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would things can change in a year fast. So I'd do it every year. But that's me. But you
Yes.
don't have to. Now, Michigan does not require that anymore. However, I do want to remind everybody about immunizations. That is still required by the schools. Now, I know Health Center had immunizations yesterday, drive-through. If you need immunizations, you can call family medicine. They can take care of that. They can take care of all your immunizations. Do remember your immunization records, and make sure you bring those along with you. Remember, your kindergartners, your preschool kids, your 8th graders, and your seniors. Seniors with that's a meningitis one, right? And yeah, I believe so. That got to have that second shot. You should have one, unless you haven't gotten one, and you get one at 16, you don't get another one.
Yeah.
Until later, but only one at 16. A lot of stuff going on. It's going to be a busy
It is.
time. I mean, I know we usually 1st of July, not usually talking about school, but we kind of are. We really don't know what's going to happen. We just have no clue. Do want to remind everybody, too, though, with the July 4th weekend, please be careful. I've already heard a lot of fireworks going off. We all know, Kasey, that emergency room, just a lot of people with burns. Fireworks are dangerous. Do not hold them in your hand. I remember Roman candles people used to take and hold them in their hand, and you can feel that heat coming through, guys. Firecrackers, set them down and walk away. I know everybody wants to throw them.
No. Yeah.
But not a good idea. And bottle rockets, the same thing. A lot of people like to throw them, and we used to have bottle rocket wars.
Well,
Not a
yes.
wise thing to do, but but if you do, once that thing goes off in your hand, if it does go off and starts to go, and for whatever reason, you can get burnt pretty bad. So be very cautious. Also, not even mention the damage you can do to your ears if something goes off very close to your head. So be very careful with fireworks. Remember, if you do have an accident, hospital emergency room is open.
Yes.
Get there.
Yes.
Don't play with it. Now, COVID-19, if you have symptoms, call your primary physician. Then they will tell you need a test.
Yes.
Then go out to the hospital, and they can do that. Now, don't go to the emergency room. Get out there. Your physician usually calls ahead of time. If you go into family medicine, they'll call ahead of time. They'll call down there.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure most
Yes.
of the ones around
Yes.
do. They'll call, and then you can go get your test, and they will come out to you. You stay in your car.
Yes. And if you are so sick that you need the emergency room,
that's-
obviously go to the
Right.
emergency room. If you suspect COVID, please call us and let us know you're coming for that reason.
If your physician hasn't already
Yeah.
done so.
Yes. I would say, especially if you're coming to the emergency room, you bypass your physician and say, I feel so sick, I need to go to the emergency room, and I do think I've been traveling, I've been this, all of the screening questions, and some of those are a yes, or one of those are a yes. Definitely call us and let us know that you have these symptoms and you believe that it's COVID, and we will make arrangements to either meet you in the parking lot and take you. Again, we want to keep this thing as isolated as possible, and so please let us know ahead of time.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Besides that, Happy New Year to you. Happy
Yeah,
New Fiscal
thank
Year.
you.
Yeah. Well,
That was neat. Yeah.
I didn't see any fireworks from your house last night for
No.
end of the year, like New Year's Eve. But anyway, we want to thank Kasey for coming in and spending some time with us. And we got into a little bit more than what was actually at the meeting a little bit, but that's
Sure.
okay. Want everybody to be safe out there and have a good one. And again, thanks always for your time and patience and helping us out here. And we hope you're learning something from what's going on at your hospital. And any questions you might have, you can call them at 729-6626. Don't ask for Karen because she's on vacay. Who's
Thank
manning
you,
the
Stan.
Who's manning the phones?
We haven't had many. I think hospital-wide we haven't had many, and those that communicate with us directly. We've
Yeah,
been handling, but
yeah, okay, very good. Very good. Okay, very good. And again, if you have some issues or questions, feel free to get in touch with the hospital. Again, find out more, and do support your local hospital. It's very, very important. This expansion's really, when you start thinking about critical access hospitals, we were reading, Bob Parsons and I were reading about Putnam Hospital up north, and they got nailed for that fraud.
Yes.
15-bed hospital.
Yes.
They're going to have to close.
Yeah.
You know it. They don't have that kind of money to pay back. And so, when smaller hospitals start it going away, what happens to those areas? That's
access to
scary.
care is.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder and harder all the time. So, be thankful we have our hospital right here to get to. And, when you have questions, question. If you got a question with a bill and you're not sure what it is, maybe it was 4 months ago. You don't remember.
Yes.
You don't remember what happened. Call, find out. They can get you the answers. It's not. Don't just sit there and get mad. That does you no good. I've done that myself. I've gotten a bill and I said, that's making me mad. But I don't have at that moment. I don't have time to find out what it was, and then usually I find out I was wrong. But I hate to say that, but you do. You find
said
out
that on the radio stand.
I did. You find you're doing things that you probably normally wouldn't do.